What's going on, guys? James here with another episode of As the Crank Turns. This one, we're going to be installing some accessories and maybe even a wiring harness on our LQ4 6-liter that we're putting in this 1993 Chevy G30 van. So come on! Alright, before we get started, it's been pretty hot in the shop and I got to thinking about it. A lot of the work I have to do now is going to be in the engine bay, and a lot of the stuff I can do is from inside of the van. As you can see here, got the doghouse off, so a lot of the stuff we can do from inside, getting a lot of the stuff done, a lot of the wiring, some of the accessories, wiring harness, all that kind of good stuff. And I realized something. I've got an AC in here. I use this van whenever I go camping, go to the track and stuff, and middle of summer gets pretty warm, so I just why not run the AC while I'm in here? Let's go. Well, that didn't work as good as I was hoping. I was hoping it was going to be a little further along than this. Well, I guess I'll get to work and start throwing some stuff on this engine. Alright, so I ordered a cheap wiring harness off of eBay. I believe this was sub $90, so I'm not expecting a whole lot. I have read reviews that said this, the JY Performance is actually, for the price, is actually a pretty good wiring harness. So we'll open this up and see what we got. Another truck intake. I was going to use an LS2 intake that I have from a GTO that I used to own, but I don't have the throttle body for it. I don't have a throttle body. I was hoping I'd be able to use this drive-by cable throttle body on it, but the bolt pattern is different on the truck throttle bodies, unfortunately. So we're just going to use the truck intake for now. And like I said, we're going to be doing some mods to this engine. But now I want to get this thing running, driving, get all the little kinks worked out before I start, you know, modifying it and doing some high performance stuff on it. But man, that LS does look good in that G30 van. Come on, man, I'm excited to do some burnouts in this sucker, going from like 100 and I don't even know, 150 horse, 160 horsepower from that 350 throttle body injection to, you know, who knows how much we're going to squeeze out of this LQ4. Really depend on if we add any power adders. A turbo, it'll come on. But anyway, we've got the valley cover on. I've got the steam port vent, steam vent stuff on there. NOx sensors. I do have my accessory drive on, but I had some hardware either walk off or whenever I picked the engine up, it just didn't have it on it, which is what I'm thinking since, you know, this engine wasn't the greatest whenever I picked it up. But I've got some on the way. I should be here Saturday. So we'll pull these out one by one, throw the new stuff in, and it'll be all shiny. And seeing that new water pump in there beside that alternator power steering pump bracket, looking just absolutely terrible, man. I'm really thinking about pulling that off, cleaning it up, and maybe even throwing some silver on it, you know, just to get it to match that water pump, because that does look good. But knowing me, I'm probably not going to do that, because like I said, I want to get this thing going and driving, get it, some of the kinks worked out, and then I've got some plans for the van once we get it running, driving, that I want to start working on maybe this winter. It's going to be a lot. I'll give you a hint. It's suspension related. I'm not going to tell you which way it's going, if we're going up, down, two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, which the van's two-wheel drive now, but are we going to stay two-wheel drive? Are we going to go four-wheel drive? If we go four-wheel drive, are we going to lift it? If we stay two-wheel drive, are we going to lift it? Pre-runner van. I don't know. I say I don't know, and honestly I don't. I keep going back and forth on if I want to, what I want to do with it, but I'm pretty sure I've got an idea that would be pretty cool for a extended G30 moto camper van. Camper van loosely. I camp in it, but it doesn't have, you know, bathroom, shower, water, all that kind of stuff. But I do camp in it. Drop a comment below to let me know, one, what you think that I'm planning on doing with the suspension, whether it's a four-wheel drive conversion, lowering it, you know, two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive. And then, so that's part one of the comment. Part two of the comment, let me know what you think I should do to the suspension. Would you want to see me do a four-wheel drive conversion? Would you want to see me lift it and do like a pre-runner long travel suspension on it? Would you like to see this thing slammed and, you know, maybe handling decent for an extended Chevy G30 van? let me know in the comments what you think. Again, 2 parts to the comment, what you think that I'm thinking about doing, sure. And part 2, what you think I should do to the suspension of this fan. So let's get this intake on. We're about to button it up for the night. I am waiting for some stuff. The video's a little short still at this point, so I'm gonna wait for some stuff to come in. I'm not gonna get a video out this Wednesday, unfortunately. Waiting on parts, waiting on hardware. I keep finding little stuff as I'm going that I'm missing that I need. So hopefully this video will be good though. Maybe a little longer than the previous ones, with a little more done if I don't try to rush it out by this Wednesday. So let's see what. All right. So one of the things that made me go for the JY Performance is whenever I was looking at it, I saw that it had a little additional to where it where the ECU fuse box and stuff are. A lot of these vans, people sort of talk about where to put the ECU because of the wiring harness. It sort of puts it up here, like in the engine bay. OEM on this van, the ECM is right here underneath the driver's seat. So I've had this issue for a little while, but I didn't realize it was to this extent of, you can see there, it's pretty bad. Even, the seat, the seat bracket is, well, some of it's still there, as you can see. That's that piece that's missing there. So I was planning on making some new seat brackets anyway. The seats that I have in it are conversion van seats, and these they just don't fit on these bases very well. They're sloped too far forward. They don't have any they don't lean to the back, and so even though they're supposed to be comfortable, they're still pretty uncomfortable. And with this floor being how it is, not really the floor being how it is, but how that bracket was missing this corner always set a little low. So that made it really uncomfortable. So that puts us where we are now. I'm gonna finish putting everything on the engine, get it as far along as I can. But with the wiring harness, where it does go, I'm gonna run it through the hole in the floor where the OEM wiring harness came through. I think everything should fit. Looking at it, it should be long enough to where I can put it there. But the issue is, and the issue is not even the seat bracket. I need to make a new seat bracket, which I was planning on doing. The issue is the floor is pretty bad, and I don't want to be cutting and welding around a brand new wiring harness that's coming to the floor right beside where we're cutting and welding. So that's going to put a hold on us for a little bit with the wiring harness. I was wanting to get the wiring harness in, but as you can see, a lot of this floor needs to be replaced right here. I'm going to pull up this sound deadening, and we're going to have to do some metal work, which isn't a big deal. I was planning on doing it whenever I bought the van originally. I lived in Alabama, lived in Auburn, Alabama, War Eagle, and I didn't have the tools. I didn't have the space. We moved down for my wife to go to school. She did go to Auburn, and when I bought the van, I didn't have the means to fix the floor. When I bought it, it was a work van, had two seats in it. It had the wall up behind the seats, and that was it. It had the rubber mat in the back all the way, all the way to the back. Whenever I pulled the rubber mat up behind the seats, there were some rough spots in it. Not having a welder or the tools down there, or a place to put the tools, which was the big issue, because my tools that I did have, I had to leave in Kentucky. So that that was an issue. You know, I just didn't have the place to do it. So a lot of the rust behind the driver's seats, most of it was just small holes where they had, you know, drilled stuff into the floor. There was some rust, and basically what I did, I cleaned the rust up as well as I could, and I fiberglassed it just to make it, you know, weatherproof, to seal everything up in the back. But I never really did anything with the front, mainly because whenever I tried to get the front seats out, I couldn't get the seats out because that one bolt was spinning. And I just sort of, I didn't look into it any further. If I'd have taken the other three nuts out with that one, I guess, stud that was spinning, if I'd have taken the other three out, nuts off, the seat pan or the seat would have just came out, because the one that was spinning that I was having issues with wasn't even attached. Well, it's not attached now. It may have been attached then a little more, I don't know. But now I do have the tools, I have the spot, and we're not gonna completely replace the floor in the front. I'm gonna pull this stuff out, see what does need to be replaced and fixed. And we're gonna make some type of seat base with this wiring harness. It does have the wiring harness goes to the ECU, or the ECM, whatever, and the fuse box is all right there, and you can see it's got this grommet. This is what I was talking about, that extra length right there. And I think that'll work perfect to where I can tuck all this stuff up underneath of the driver's seat and have, you know, easy access to it right there. And especially if I'm having to make my own seat base, then I can do what I want, basically. Get everything sort of located where I want it, where it's easily accessible. I'm not sure if the OBD2 plug, the wiring will be long enough to sort of that branches away to get it up underneath the dash, but if not, oh well, I'll have it underneath the seat. I don't feel like that's a big deal. Everything will be right there, tucked in a central location underneath the driver's seat, and I think it'll work well. But where it puts the dampener on this video is I was wanting to go ahead and put this wiring harness in, and, you know, pulled the seat base out and got to looking, and that's when, you know, I realized that could be an issue. It could not be an issue. I could probably put the wiring harness in. The majority of the rust is inboard of the hole that the wiring harness is going to come through, and it's probably far enough away, but I'd rather have a clean area to try to do it, you know, a clean area so I'm not messing anything up. I don't want to mess this wiring harness up. So that's where we're at now, and gonna get back to work and just sort of see what's next. I've got the intake manifold in there, if you can see. Fits in there really well. I do still have all of my OEM wiring harness in. There's a few sensors that you still use on the van. Basically, it comes over here into this hot mess and goes through the firewall there. Yeah, that's a mess. But we do use a few of the wires out of there. And then I'll just, you know, start cleaning this stuff up. Start cleaning the wiring harness up as I'm pulling out the wires that need to stay. And I don't know, I may end up having to replace the wires anyway, just because they are so rough. You know, this is an old, oh man, I just said it's an old van, and I'm older than the van, but I don't like that, but I mean, it's getting pretty gray. But this is an older van, we'll say that. It's a 1994. Life has not been easy on this van. It did come from, I believe, Mobile, Alabama, where it was a like juvenile correctional van or something. In the certain light and certain weather, you can still see on the doors where they used to have a decal on there that said what it was. I can't exactly remember what it is now, but it was something like that. Mobile, Alabama, Juvenile Detention Center, something, I don't know. But we're getting closer. I'm getting excited. I hope you all are excited as I am to hear this thing run. and just to see how much better it drives. You know, that the 350 that was in it, it was weak, and it was decently high mileage. It was over 200,000. You know, it had some ticks here and there, and you know, with the tires that I run on it, the tire size is a little larger, so you know, increasing the gearing like that, it'll run, you know, 80, 85 down the interstate, no problem. But it just takes a little while to get there. It doesn't want to move out of its own way. But this 6 liter is going to change that. And if we throw, I don't know, a turbo or two on it, supercharger, I don't know. That's later on down the road. I want to get this thing running. But, you know, that's going to definitely help this thing pick it up, get out of the way of itself, and, you know, maybe even pass a few things that you wouldn't expect a G30 van to pass. I don't know. We'll have to see. All right, got a few more things on it here. Finished up, tightened up the intake manifold. Got the coil packs on. Go ahead and juiced up my spark plug wires and threw those on. And I don't know if you can see here. So that's what I'm using for a dipstick right now. I do want to find a Chevy Express van dipstick to route it to the front, because I really don't want to have to pull the doghouse off of this thing just to check the oil. And I mean, it's pretty far back there. I also need to get something for the engine oil filler as well, because you know it's right there. As you can see, it's still pretty far back as well. So I believe the Chevy Express vans will work on this and route them into a better location. I am using my the OEM 4L80E that came in the van, so I'll be able to just use the trans dipstick that, you know, came on it. I think I've read some stuff where the mounts don't quite work for it, but that's not an issue, or it shouldn't be an issue. We can work around that. But yeah, getting closer. So all right, so I came to a good stopping point for the night. As you can see, you got the intake manifold on. You got the coil packs on the passenger side on. I didn't put them on the driver's side yet. I still have, like I said, that OEM wiring harness that's sort of pushed over in that area. I am going to start cleaning on that. Well, probably here in this video. Yeah, I was going to say if this video is long enough that I'm going to go ahead and edit it and throw it up there, but I don't think I'm going to. No, you know, I will. If this video is longer than the longest As the Crank Turns episode, which I believe is about 23 minutes, if it's longer than that, we're going to go ahead and post it to where we are now. I don't think it's going to be, though. So if it's not, we're going to continue to work after this clip. But in the small chance that it is, and that is a very, very small chance.
That's what she said. Michael.
Then this is going to be the end of the video. But like I said, I don't think it's going to be. So with that, let's either get back to work, or we'll see you on the next episode of As the Crank Turns. Come on. Let's go.
Oh, you gotta give him that hawk too and spit on that thing. You get me?